Hi guys, and welcome back to the workshop. I want to start by saying I hope each and every one of you and your families and loved ones are keeping themselves healthy and as far away from this mad virus that's going around as possible. And if you or anyone you know is suffering with this virus, I want to wish you a speedy recovery. So today's video, I would like to show you how I went from a load of old pallet wood to this, a little wall cabinet for my PPE, personal protective equipment, such as my dust mask, my ear protection, there's room for my safety goggles, some disposable gloves and some wet wipes. So if you want to see how I made this, then stick around. So my finished cabinet, I want it to look something like, top panel is going to be flush with the sides, but I want the bottom panel raised slightly up from the bottom, because I'm going to put another bit along the bottom here. But what I'm going to do is cut some dados or rabbits or whatever you want to call it, grooves, not sure what the correct term is. I mark it up where I want it, cut some slots out on both sides of this and along the top edge, and then I can glue them and brad nail them in place and go from there. So to mark where I need to remove material, all I'm going to do, and this doesn't have to be 100% spot on because it's not like I'm making fine cabinetry. As close as damn it, and then I'm just going to put a mark once I've got it roughly in place where I want it, and that's going to give me a rough guide so basically I've got a line that goes all the way across, and I want to remove half of this material, and then obviously I'll do the same at this end, but I'll probably come up, say if I come up 2 inches and put a mark, make sure they're in line, and then I can put a mark across the 2 pieces. It doesn't have to be 100% spot on, as long as it's the same place on both sides. Now the first cut I made on this piece of wood, I noticed when I had it against the fence on the chop saw, I wasn't getting the same depth at the back end of the cut. So in order to kind of cut the right depth all the way across the material, I've had to bring the workpiece forward, and to do that I've just used a scrap piece of wood, and then basically it's just a case of making a series of cuts and taking away the material you need to remove. Right, so you can see that I've done the grooves, one at the top, rebates, rabbits, whatever you want to call them. They're in both sides, and then basically I'm going to glue it and fire some brad nails in. But that should give you an idea of roughly how it goes together. So here I am running the outside pieces of the door through the table saw to insert a groove for the inner panel to sit, and I basically pass them through a few times until the groove is perfectly wide enough for the 6mm ply that I'm going to be using. And here I get to use my tenon jig for the first time. I thought I'd use it on this project just to see if I could actually do it or not. Then I need to rip the inner panel down to size. And now it's time to dry fit everything together to see how well it's turned out. And I have to say I'm quite impressed, considering it's my first ever attempt at anything like this. So because I didn't have any hinges for this cupboard, I've had to make my own, and here you can see I've cut the two pieces of the hinge out, and I'm basically just shaping them up a little bit, and I've already put the two pieces of the hinge together and drilled a hole, and I'm using a round lolly stick for the actual pin of the hinge. Here I'm just rounding over the edges just to make it look a bit nicer, and that's what the hinges look like. As you can see, nothing fancy, but not bad for a load of scraps and a lolly stick, can't even say it. Here I'm adding a decorative piece to the lower edge of the door, mainly because some idiot, who shall remain nameless, measured and made the door too small. The back panel, I'm simply gluing on some thin plywood sheets that I found in a skip. Then I give it a quick sand, but I don't want to take away too much of the rusticness. And then it's time to fit the hinges, and I simply pre-drilled, countersunk and screw these on. Whoa! Would you look at that? It works. It actually works. Woohoo! Here I'm just adding the final finishing touches. Some silver hooks that I found lying about along the bottom, and then I'm just sanding down some dowels which I'm going to use for the hooks inside the cupboard. Then I use my universal persuasion tool just to make sure the dowel is seated properly in the hole. Wipe away any excess glue that's squeezed out, and that's it. Right, so the last job to do is put one of these little magnet catches on. When it's in its upright position, the cupboard door doesn't actually stay closed, so what I'm going to do is put one of these on, and hopefully that solve the problem. Now, I was going to put it inside the cabinet at the bottom, but obviously that would get in the way of my box of gloves and my wet wipes, so instead I'm going to put it on the underside, and you're not going to see that when the door's closed anyway, so that should be alright. So as you can see, with the magnet catch fitted to the bottom, one, you can't see it, and two, it now stops the door from swinging back open, so sorted. So to give you an idea what it would be like when it's on the wall, and as you can see, I've got my dust mask in there, my ear defenders, baby wipes and gloves, and I've got room for safety goggles, and that's basically all my PPE that I need in the workshop. And by keeping it in there, hopefully it'll stop my mask especially getting covered in dust. Sorted.